Are you struggling to find that ancestor on Ancestry even though you know that they should be there? In this video, I'll show you one of the most overlooked yet powerful strategies on Ancestry using the Browse This Collection side panel. Now, this strategy is especially effective for U.S. Census records, but can also be used for probate, land, tax, and other location-based type records. If, for example, you're having difficulty finding records through normal search functions from the search menu or from the ancestor's profile and you're just not finding them, or if you are wanting to make sure that this record that you're looking at is your guy and you're not sure, and so maybe you need to find out if there is another person in that place at that time by the same name. That will help you tease out whether the record you're looking at is the right person. Or maybe if you know that there are many people by the same name or similar name that exist in the county, how many are there? You can use this strategy to figure out just how many people are in that place at that time that you are researching, so you can help separate the records. Now, if you are searching that elusive ancestor, stay tuned. You'll want to see this. Now, most researchers rely entirely on that regular search box, but when records are misindexed or spelled phonetically or simply just not showing up in search results, this method allows you to manually browse the original microfilm page by page, just like researchers did before online indexes existed. So if you've ever said they should be there, but I just can't find them, this video is for you. Hey, if this is your first time here, my name is Connie Knox. I am a professional genealogist, and my whole thing is to help you go further, faster, and factually with your family history research. Let's jump in. Real quick, two things. One, there's a handout for this for those who are members. Information is in the description box below. The other one is stick around to the end because I've got a couple bonus tips that may help you find your elusive ancestors before you go to the effort of this strategy. So stick around to the end. All right, let me show you how this works. So we're going to work on my tree here. John Plymale. We're going to jump into him. I've already got his profile open over here. And as you can see, I have the 1850 census. I don't have a lot of information about his birthplace, but I do have his death state. If I scroll down a little bit, I have some probate records that I have collected somewhere along the way, and those are in, if we open those up, those are in Wayne County. Now, spoiler alert, I know that this family both came from Wayne County and Cable County. Let me show you a very cool little map that I found. This is on mapchart.net. I'll leave a link in the handout for that. Yes, there is a handout for this. And so if we scroll in, let's see if we can zoom in without too much problem here. One of the things you need to keep in mind when you are doing research, and we're going to be searching for the next census record back, the 1840 census, where we've got the 1850. He died in 1851, so we can't get any more out of that, but we can go backwards in time, as we always do when we're doing research. So we're going to search for the 1840 census next, but here's the thing. You need to keep in mind your border changes, right? So this is West Virginia, and this is where his records are from eventually, his family, right? His son is in West Virginia. And so long story short is you got to keep in mind that West Virginia didn't become a state until 1863. Well, we're looking at 1840. Additionally, we got to pay attention to the counties. So here we've got Wayne County and Cable County, and they're right next to each other. And if we go over to the Research Wiki and we look at Wayne County, which is where we find some of his records, we see that the parent county is Cable County, and it wasn't established till 1842. So we need to be looking in Cable County, not Wayne County, because Wayne County didn't exist in 1840. And my apologies for those in Cabell County. I think it's Cabell County, West Virginia. I've been pronouncing that wrong, apparently. So I believe it is as in a Cabell County, West Virginia. Anyway, So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the card catalog to begin this search in the 1840 census. So we're on Ancestry, and by the way, the wiki that I was showing you before was on FamilySearch. You go to search, drop down to research wiki. So sorry, I forgot to mention that. Back to the card catalog, and that's simply a search, and then drop down to card catalog, and you get to the full set of all the records Ancestry has. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill into the state, and it's going to be Virginia, because West Virginia did not exist in 1840. West Virginia was part of Virginia at the time. So we got to pay attention to that. We're going to click into census records just to make our life a little easier. We're going to say 1840, and you can see here that we have the 1840 U.S. Census. Okay, this is the weirdest thing. You end up having to pick your state again. So this is the side panel trick. We're going in there now. We're going to go to Virginia, and we're going to choose Cabell County. And now we have 2 townships to choose from. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click and open each one, or you could use the scroll button, and just push the scroll button on your mouse, and that should open those up in a new tab. So what we're going to do, what this does now, let me back up. We've opened both of these townships over in new tab. So I have one here and one here. Okay. So now what we're going to do is, you can see it takes us to the first image. We're going to scroll through these pages one by one to find our person. Okay. Well, on this particular one, let's zoom in a little bit. It's just a bunch of numbers on the first page. There's no names. So we're going to scroll forward until we start seeing the enumeration of the people. So Cabell County. And now we're starting to see people. Okay, so what we do is we come over here. We're going to zoom in. And if it's indexed, now not all of these records are indexed. I was doing some earlier where they were not indexed. But if this little button down here is lit up, then you can open the index and make this process a little bit faster. Now remember, we're looking for John Plymale. Okay, so we're looking for John Plymale, and we're going to scroll down and see if we can find him. Now there's only 3 more pages to look at, so it's not like it's going to take me all day to do this. I'm looking for Plymale. Don't see him here. Back to the top. Not finding him. One more page on this particular census roll. Go back to the top. Not finding him. Okay, so what I do at this point is like, okay, I struck out on that one. I just close that tab, and I go to the next one. So there was only 2, and this township says it's not stated. So we're going to zoom in so that we can see this. If we wanted to, we could search it this way. This one's indexed. Ooh, 82 pages long. Let me find this person, and I will get back to you. If there's a handout for this episode, you can download it with one of the higher level memberships on YouTube or on Patreon. For $10 to $15 a month, depending on the membership, you can have access to the handouts as they are produced to go with the newest video. If you are a Genealogy TV Academy member, you have access to all of the handouts ever produced, available anytime in the handouts library. If you are not a member of any of those, you can still purchase the individual handouts at genealogytv.org. Producing these videos really does take a lot of time and resources, so every membership helps keep them coming. To learn more about memberships, go to genealogytv.org/memberships, and you can learn all about it. The handouts really do help support the channel, and for that, I truly thank you. Now, I don't know if you caught it or not, but if I'm looking for him in 1840, we need to do the math, right? So we need to figure out how old he is in 1840. So if we take 1840 minus 1827, then he should be 13 years old. Well, there's some information that tells me that his father is Anthony Plymale. So here on image 51, I have Anthony Plymale, and some of that information that I had showed that Anthony Plymale was his father. I'm not going to go into all the details about that. But long story short is, as we're kind of starting to really get all those records that we possibly can, and we're trying to find those elusive ancestors, Sometimes we find them with their parents, and in this case, here's Anthony Plymale, and we have a 10 to 15-year-old male, which would be that 13-year-old that we saw a moment ago. And we've got a John Plymale, and this could be a brother too, because it looks like they're about the same age. You want to look at the oldest male is going to be who this is, because this is the head of household. So most likely, unless there is a grandfather living with the head of household, this is probably going to be your estimate on how old Anthony Plymale is. And then John Plymale is likely his brother. So, but this is my John Plymale here, who fits the age range for this guy. So what I can do now is I can save that to a person in my tree, and I can make sure you change this to Anthony Plymale or John Plymale. Well, we're going to say Anthony Plymale because the son is underneath that. So we're going to say John Plymale. We're going to pick the right guy and hit save. And now it's going to save it to a person in my tree. And so what you're going to see on that is it's going to identify the right line. So if we view this, it's going to say Anthony Plymale, which is the right line for John Plymale, but we didn't want to pick the other John Plymale because that's not the right John. Hey, we're going to get back to that video here in just a moment, but I want to let you know that Genealogy TV has a website, a newsletter, and a Facebook page. Links for all of that are in the description box below the video. All right, let's get back to it. So I just want to recap. We went into the card catalog and we drilled into the location, the type of record. This can work on a lot of different types of records. Sometimes they're alphabetical, sometimes they're based on location. And then we went in and we chose the state from the side panel. And so let's just pick this one again, and Cabell County. And then we had these two townships. We opened those up in different tabs. So keep an eye out for this Browse This Collection side panel whenever you're in a specific collection. So if we go back up to census and voter lists, and now we're in a bigger catalog, you've got narrow by category, but you don't have Browse This Collection because we haven't drilled in to a specific collection yet. But once we do, then you get that Browse This Collection little widget on the side, which can be very helpful. Sometimes you also want to take a look at the related data collections as well. But this side panel will allow you to go page by page and really find out if there was more than one John Plymale. Obviously there was, because my 13-year-old and his uncle are by the same name. And you know, you can go page by page and discover how many people by the same name exist. And then you can use, in the case of census records, their ages to help tease out, you know, which ones are which. Sometimes you're going to find that you can't really separate them unless there is a spouse or some other relationship identified in the household with them to help you tease out which set of records belong to whom. So there's the side panel trick. Browse This Collection. It can be very helpful in finding those elusive ancestors. All right, now I've got a couple bonus tips for you. Okay, here's the bonus tip I was talking about. So let's say you want to do a search for somebody. You can go to the all collections. I would suggest you narrow it down to the type of collection you're looking for to do this. But before you go to the effort of doing that page by page search, like I showed you before, or you say you're going to search from the person's profile, you can do this trick as well. So when you search from the person's profile, it automatically pre-populates with all of this information. And if you're not finding what you're looking for in the results, here's something you can try. Do one of two things. You can erase the first name and just search the last name. And I would do that with everybody in the list. So you would remove the first names of all of these people. Actually, you probably just X these out and just search the last name in the type of record collection that you're looking for to see if you can find them, because sometimes the indexing is goofy. Maybe it looks like, you know, an S looks like a B or an R or something completely different, or an L. S and L are often confused in handwriting. The other trick that I find to be more successful a lot of times is to remove the last name. So if we go and we remove Simmons in this case, And instead of Xing out all of those people, we leave them in so that it uses that information to help us find that person. But sometimes by searching just the first name and not the last name, but all of the other information is there, and the death information and all of that, sometimes that will result in you finding your person by a misspelling or a transcription error. And so sometimes that can be helpful. So there's two different ways you can do it. Erase all the first names or erase all the last names. Try it both ways if you're having trouble finding that elusive ancestor. If that doesn't work, then go and do the side panel trick that I showed you.